Severe weather can strike at any time, and you can take steps now to help keep you and your family safe. The Storm Track 3 team looks back at the biggest local impacts over the last century. We've got you covered on how to be ready for the worst. Project Tornado starts right now.
Thanks for joining us for Project Tornado. I'm News 3 WSIL Chief Meteorologist Jim Rasor. During the next 30 minutes, we're going to look back on some of the most notable tornadoes in this region. And we'll take some time to remind you of steps you can take to keep you and your family safer in the event of severe weather. The entire News 3 WSIL weather team will be here, much like during a severe weather event. We are fortunate to have 4 full-time professional meteorologists working hard to keep you informed. Tornadoes can occur in any month, at any time of day, but as the weather shifts from winter into spring and temperatures climb, the risk of the development of the most violent storms on Earth goes up. A tornado is defined as a rapidly rotating column of air. The strongest of these storms can produce wind speeds near 300 miles per hour, destroying everything in their path. One of the largest and deadliest tornadoes in history occurred right here at home. March 18, 1925, the Great Tri-State Tornado. 234 souls lost in Murfreesboro, the largest single-city death toll from a tornado, a record that still stands nearly 100 years later. Meteorologist Nick Housen digs deeper into that terrible day.
Jim, today Murfreesboro is working to revitalize its downtown and breathe some new life into the old buildings, much like this one, which was built just 1 year before the worst tornado to ever strike the United States, passed just 2 blocks to the north.
Just try to imagine the disorientation of coming out from wherever you had, digging out or coming out.
That's what it was like in Murfreesboro and for many other communities along a 219-mile tornado path, March 18, 1925. Crossing parts of 3 states, it's simply known as the Tri-State Tornado. And it's the longest tracking tornado in U.S. history, and also the deadliest, claiming 695 lives and injuring more than 2,000. It may sound like a nightmare, but it happened here, and it's a storm that still leaves scientists mystified.
It looked like an environment that would happen today in the spring. You know, it occurred in mid-March. We get these systems every year, but for some reason, Mother Nature decided to put on a show that day.
Mount Vernon native John Hart, who is a lead forecaster for the Storm Prediction Center in Oklahoma, has studied tornadoes extensively, and he spent a lot of time studying the Tri-State Tornado.
These people were caught off guard. They were caught out in fields. Children were in schools. People were down in the mines. It hit Murfreesboro and West Frankfort, and people were at work. It was a weekday.
And in 1925, there was no warning.
So the first knowledge anyone would have that a bad storm was coming was the sky got dark.
And by that time, it was too late.
Employees at the ice plant here in town, that they had to take cover in the ice locker. Another person was at the company store, the railroad company store, and they took cover in a vault of some sort.
Pictures of the tornado's aftermath, like these, line the wall at the Jackson County Historical Society, highlighting the path, which could not have been worse. Gorham, destroyed. 2 schools were hit in Murfreesboro. In DeSoto, 33 of the town's 69 that died were in a school. Farther east, miners in West Frankfort came above ground to find their houses gone, their wives and children lying in the rubble, and the small community of Parrish nearly wiped off the map. That night, it was the fires. They ravaged parts of Murfreesboro, and the effects of the damage would last for years.
For Murfreesboro, it was a real financial, economic game changer because Murfreesboro apparently had been a real boomtown up until the time of the tornado.
Today, you have to know where to look to see the signs of the tornado. This marker sits in Longfellow Park. Longfellow School once sat right here. Homes have been built in place of where others were destroyed. And then there's advancement in meteorology and improved warning systems that today would likely save countless lives.
If the same storm happened today, I'm confident it wouldn't kill 695 people, but it would still be terrible.
After a tornado event, you often hear us rating those storms on an EF scale. That scale is known as the Enhanced Fujita scale, and it ranges from an EF0 all the way to an EF5. An EF0 has wind speeds of up to 85 miles per hour, but once you get to an EF5, you're talking about winds over 200 miles per hour. Now that's a big difference when it comes to damage. Damage from an EF0 typically leaves some downed tree limbs, maybe some damage to shingles, but once you get those winds over 200 miles per hour, you're talking about homes that are completely blown away. This is an image sent in by Tony Lawbeck of an EF2 that was in Carpenter, Wyoming. Locally, we have seen tornadoes on every level of that EF scale. Just last year in March in Poplar Bluff, we saw an EF0. What we typically see locally are EF1s and EF2s. In order to go back far enough to the last time we saw an EF5, it dates all the way back to December of 1957.
Anytime we discuss tornado safety, it needs to be understood. We're talking about improving the chances of safety. There are no guarantees with tornadoes, but being caught unaware and unprepared for a tornado will put you at risk for injury or death. The first step to being prepared is awareness. I'm not talking about the awareness of an immediate storm. Awareness begins days in advance. And luckily, that's now easier than it's ever been before. Modern forecasting includes the risk of severe weather and tornadoes out to about 3 days. The Storm Prediction Center highlights areas of concern, and we've got you covered by including that information on our maps. When you know there's an elevated risk of severe weather and tornadoes, you're more prepared to make adjustments to your routine or schedule to help keep you safer, like staying off the roads. Being in a car is one of the worst places to be during a tornado, and if caught in that situation, a higher level of awareness is required. In the event you're driving and a tornado warning is issued, you need to pull over quickly and seek sturdy shelter to move inside. You have been told forever to jump in a ditch, but that should be a last resort. Instead, look for a place to pull over, exit the car, and enter a sturdy building. If you are in a car and see a tornado, determine quickly which way the storm is moving. Do not drive toward a tornado, but determine which way is moving and drive away if possible. If the storm is moving right at you, exit the vehicle, enter a building. If none is available, it is time to look for a ditch or culvert that is not full of water. More people die each year from flooding than from tornadoes. So if choosing a ditch, you have to protect yourself from both.
Tornadoes can strike at any time. One local woman who survived the 1982 Marion tornado shares her story next on Project Tornado.